Okay, guys, I know that we're probably going to have some commercial issues because I went off air and came back on. So I'm going to give everybody just a minute to get through those commercials before I get started. Hi, Christine. Okay, are the commercials over for everyone? Okay, what we're going to make tonight is this portfolio. It's like a calendar portfolio. I used the place and time paper from Graphic 45 to create it. It's just now hitting the market everywhere. I know Graphic 45 has been running some cool classes on layouts and things with this product, so I'm glad I kind of got a jump start on it. The idea behind this is that it's a photo a month, not a day. I felt like a photo a day kind of got a little bit overwhelming for some people, so I wanted to do a photo a day. A place where you could capture one important photo a day. And I know, month after month we have important activities, but these pages are like 5x7, so if you had like a lot going on that month, you could do smaller pictures and do a small 5x7 layout. So this is January, and January is going to have a little envelope that you can trap in here, maybe some memorabilia from the month, or you could put a little side note inside of here for the month. So each month is going to have an envelope, and then there's pockets here for you to trap more memorabilia in here, or possibly even a calendar sheet where you document, like a diary sheet, document everything you did all month. I don't know. And then the pages are going to open to reveal the space for the layouts. Now on January, the layout will be, one side will be for February and one side will be for January. And then when you turn it, there you have February, and again February has a pocket. There's an envelope that February and March share, but if you wanted to, you could put two envelopes. You could do one for February and one for January, one for February here and one for March here. These are all options. You could also add additional little pieces of paper in between each one. I kept it simple for the Ustream. Again, don't feel like you can't modify this to fit your own needs. I love it when people take something that I've taught them and then they make it their own. I really like that. So here is another pocket for March. Look at how beautiful the imagery is for this. It's just so gorgeous. And another great thing about this paper collection is that all of the Graphic 45 paper lines match the calendar. So if you wanted to incorporate some of your leftover pads of paper or some extra sheets of paper from previous collections, you can definitely incorporate them in here on your layouts that are to the inside spreads. So this is April. Here's April's envelope. This envelope is the Tim Holtz envelope. I love this envelope. Love it. It is so worth the money. I don't know how much it is. It looks like Flamingo Scraps is doing a pre-order on it for $21 plus the shipping, whatever shipping costs. It's so worth it. I have used this. I have already more than paid for it. And the envelope's finished size is ATC size. So once you fold it up, an ATC would fit inside. So here's May, and here's June. And as you can see, all of these pages kind of have the same layout and design. I did that on purpose because to me, I feel like it gives a flow through the whole book, and it gives you the opportunity to, I don't want to call it mindless, monotonous layouts or whatever, but it makes it easy when it's such a daunting task. And this book has so much fussy cutting that to me, I felt comfort in knowing that every layout was going to be roughly the same. There are some little pieces that I used instead of others. This is August. But I will warn you, there is a lot of fussy cutting in this. We use the 8x8 paper pad, and then here's September. And I'm pausing a long time on each page because we're only going to do one spread tonight, and then the rest of them you guys can work on later. But if I show you the spreads, then you'll be able to go back and watch the video and pause it to see what color combinations I used or which ones of the cutouts I used. So here's September. Isn't it gorgeous? I just love it. I love the tans with the blacks. Now, I used black cardstock as my base, but you guys could use craft easily, a pink or, you know, a neutral color of some kind. This is October. I should put something back here so I can prop it. There we go. And then here's September on this side, or November, excuse me. I love this. I mean, all of these are just so beautiful. And then here's December. And December's like January. You have to share November and December. So when you open up November, November and December will go here. It's a gorgeous paper collection. And like I said, guys, your other paper collections will fit. Will work with this too, so you can easily coordinate this with other projects. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about the binding. On mine, I use the Bind It All, but if you guys don't have a Bind It All, you have a cinch, you can definitely use a cinch. You could use jump rings if you needed to. I love the Bind It All, so I've never purchased the cinch. But then we're also going to talk about you know, like I said, paper choices and colors. On my cover, I used Proper Gentleman. Tonight I'm going to use a different paper, but this is the paper that was included in the kit. So I think it's Sophisticate. The trim that was in the kit is this, and this is Prima lace on the side, and then on the inside these little rosettes are Maya Road. These are the Maya Road rosettes. And if you want extras of these trims, check out Flamingo Scraps. They do have some in their store. Okay, so look, we're going to go ahead and get started. Now, I've done a lot of the work for tonight. I've already done it because, like I said, it was going to get a little overwhelming with all of these extra pages and all of this cutting and things like that. But I've got glue everywhere on my desk. I thought I cleaned it up, but what we're going to start out with is our binder because it's going to take it a while to dry, and I've already done part of it because I knew it needed to dry. So what we're going to do is you're going to need 2 pieces of chipboard. Now, with this, I want to show you. I did this with 1 sheet of chipboard, black chipboard. And I cut it 6 inches by 7 3/4 inches. So if you cut your chipboard in half and then cut one panel at 7 3/4, you know, cut the 2 panels at 7 3/4, then this is what you've got. But our book is going to actually be 6 1/2 by 7 3/4. So I'm going to make a little piece of cardstock shim for my binding. If you want this to be a solid piece of chipboard, then you're going to have to use 2 pieces of chipboard and cut them at 6 1/2 by 7 3/4. Does that make sense to everyone? I didn't want to waste a whole sheet of chipboard with that little 1/2 inch, so I decided to make the extra piece to do the binding. Does that make sense for everyone? So what I've done is I've taken my cover, my paper, decide which way you want your pattern to go, and you're going to cut it in half. So I'm going to pull out just a sheet of paper real quick to show you. In this case, if you wanted your pattern, if you want your pattern to go in a certain direction, actually let me do it with this one because it has a pattern that matters. Okay, so if you wanted your pattern to go in this direction on your book, then you're going to cut where you see the label on the paper, you're going to cut it in half this way and then use this side and this side. If you want it to go, if you wanted your pattern to go horizontal, left to right, then you're going to put your strip on the right or left side and cut the paper this way. Does that make sense to everybody? So your paper is going to be cut at 5.5 by 7.5. So that you have a 1/4 inch border all the way around. Or if you want the border to be thinner, you could cut it at 5 3/4. I don't know. You guys have to do the math. It's too late for that. So anyway, I will tell you what I cut mine at, and then that way you can follow along and do the same thing I did. Okay, so my ruler, let's see here. I have mine at 5 3/4 by 7.5. So that, and then that leaves me with this little 1/8 of an inch border around. Okay, so are we clear on the measurements for these, or did I totally confuse you? Okay, now on my cover for tonight, because I didn't have any more of the Proper Gentleman paper that we used in the kit, I'm using one of the Cirque du Soleil or the Le Cirque papers, and I like it because it has this kind of floral pattern to it. So that's the one I'm going to use. Clear as mud. I know. For those of you who bought a kit, you're going to get the directions emailed to you, the measurements. So don't sweat it. Okay, so then you're going to take your chipboard once you get it cut. Once you get your chipboard cut, your naked chipboard right here, you are going to cover it with matte medium, and I'm using the Claudine Helmuth matte medium. You can also use glue and seal. Okay, so either one of these, you could use Mod Podge, but I don't like Mod Podge because it's sticky for me because I live in a high humid area. And it doesn't like to, it just stays sticky here for us. So I'm going to use the matte medium. So I'm using the Claudine Helmuth matte medium, and I think Flamingo Scraps has some of this too. I love the way it looks. And one thing I want to warn you about is if you use the matte medium, take a popsicle stick and scoop some out and put it on your mat, because with this colored cardstock, what happens is it will turn a color. It picks up the color in the cardstock and it will contaminate your glue, and you don't want that to happen. So I'm just going to liberally add that matte medium to this chipboard, and I'm going to get a good coating on it. This is going to seal the chipboard and keep it from running. If for some reason it happens to get wet, it just gives it a nice good seal. Now one side of this chipboard, you're only going to paint the matte medium on it, and then you're going to put it aside and let it dry. The other side, you're going to do the paper. You're going to add your paper to it. So let me get a good coating on this. Now once I have it good and saturated, what I like to do so I don't get too many brush strokes is I take my brush and start down here at the bottom, and I just lightly push up all the way up. And that keeps my brush strokes even and clean. And that way, if you do see brush strokes, they're all going in the same direction, so you don't notice them. Now I'm going to put this one to the side, and I'm going to let it completely dry before I do the back side of it. So this one is done. Now for the purposes of video, I've already done the back side of this one. So I'm just going to put it to the side and let it dry. And this one I'm going to show you how to put the paper on. So on this one, my paper is cut at 5 3/4 by 7 1/2. Look at there. I wrote the measurements down. I don't know why I didn't look at this to start with. I'm smarter than I give myself credit for. So on this one, when you go to apply your paper, what you're going to do is you're going to give an even coat of your matte medium all over your board. You want to make sure you travel your brush in 2 directions so that you know you're getting it good and saturated. And the reason is because this chipboard will soak up. So your first pass is going to be to saturate the chipboard, and then your second pass is to make sure you have a good even coating. If you do not do this, you are going to get buckled paper, and the last thing you want is your paper to look buckled. So we're going to go left to right, and then up and down. Okay? And like where I have my finger just now, I'm going to make sure I cover that. And I don't know if you guys can see it on camera or not, but you can see where see the pink right here on my mat? That pink is what contaminates your gloss, your glue. So don't dip your brush into the glue. Put some of it out on your mat. Now that I have that good and saturated, I'm going to set it to the side. I'm going to take my sheet of paper and I'm going to clean my mat up really good. Get all the extra glue off my mat because I don't want my paper to be messy. And then I'm going to lay this down face down, and I'm going to apply glue to the back of the paper. And again, I'm going to make sure I get a good even coat. I'm going left to right and up and down. Oh yes, I'm hitting record, by the way. I did record. And again, I'm going to go, up and down. I want to make sure I have glue all over this paper. Then I'm going to take my paper and lay it down on my chipboard, and I'm going to start at the inside. So I'm starting right here in the middle. I'm keeping this lifted a little bit. I'm taking an old bone folder that I don't care because it's going to get all gummed up. And I'm going to push all the paper out. And I'm going to push just like hanging wallpaper. You're going to push all those air bubbles to the edge from the center out. And I like to wipe off my bone folder because it gets glue all over it and go back over it this direction, making sure that every corner is down. And voila, I'm going to show you this. I'm going to lift it up. There are no wrinkles in that paper. So I'm going to clean this up off my board right here, and then I'm going to add another coat of this glue and seal right on top. And that's going to seal the paper so that it is waterproof as well. It's probably not waterproof, but it does protect it. It protects it over time too, to keep it from ripping and tearing. So once again, I'm going to take and go in one direction all the way down. very light-handed, very light-handed. And then I'm going to put this to the side to dry. And I don't want any of that matte medium bubbled up on there. Then immediately wash your brush. Do not leave your brush in paint water. I got in trouble for that with Marion the other day. She said, stop it, because it ruins your brushes to leave them in water. But I'm going to put mine into water for now, just so that my bristles don't get all dried up while we're doing our Ustream. Then you want to clean your surface really well, because the next step, you do not want any kind of paint, any kind of glue to get on anything that you're working on. I keep baby wipes at my surface so that I can keep things wiped down and cleaned up. It really saves a lot of time. Okay, did everybody follow how I did that? Did anybody have any questions so far? Everybody's on track. Okay, so we have both of our covers done. I'm going to close all this medium up. Now we're going to start working on our interior pages. And to do that, I'm going to pull out my scoreboard. And you're going to need to pick out 6 sheets of paper of cardstock. I'm using black cardstock. And the brand, I just bought the black cardstock from Walmart. I think it's the Recollections brand. And I'm going to use my Martha Stewart scoreboard. And I use a stylus with this. And I also use a ruler that goes all the way to the edge. And you're going to take your sheet of paper, your cardstock. I took my scoreboard, and on my 6-inch it's black. On the 1/2 inches it's gold, and on the full inches it's brown. So I can easily see all the way down my scoreboard. Then I take a straight edge ruler and I line it up like a T-square so I can find it. Now I'm going to show you, because the computer likes to get wigged out with the black, so it's probably going to not focus. So I wanted to use a color that you guys could see so you could follow along with what I was doing. But this is a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. I'm going to line it up so you can see it. You see what's happened? You're going to do this 6 times for your book, but you're going to score it first. You're going to score it first at 5.5. So you're going to score down at 5.5. Then you're going to turn it a 1/4 of a turn this way to your left, and you're going to cut off a 1/2 inch on this side. So you're going to cut it to 11.5. You're going to cut it at 11.5, and then you're going to score it at 7 3/4. Is everybody following me so far? Then you're going to turn it back this direction, the way you had it first. Line it up, and then from where this score line is here down, you're going to cut off a 1/2 inch. So now this little piece right here is cut off at 11.5. If you get the kit, I'm going to email you these written instructions. Okay, I'm going to mail you the written instructions if you bought the kit. Okay, so when you fold this up, then this edge right here is going to get punched. Okay, so now that I've showed you how to do it, let's do it again. See if I can follow directions. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find 5.5 on my scoreboard, or 5 3/4, excuse me. And for you that are are challenged with your measuring, that would be find the 6 on your scoreboard if you're using Martha Stewart and come in 6 to the left of the 6-inch mark. Oops, so 5 3/4, and I'm going to put my stylus in, and I'm using this ruler as a T-square because I can never keep it in the grid all the way down on a 12-inch sheet of paper. Never. So this is how I do it. Okay? So now I have a nice score line, and I'm going to turn it to the left. I'm going to cut off a 1/2 inch, and don't cringe when I do this, but I'm going to use my utility knife very carefully. I'm not going to press hard with my scoreboard. Well, you got to press a little harder than that, Tanya. You line it back up again. If you get the blade down in the groove, then you're home free. Okay, so I've cut off a 1/2 inch. Now I'm going to pull it over to here, and I'm going to score it at 7 3/4. I'm going to put that down before I end up cutting it. So 7 3/4. Okay, so now I have it scored, and now I'm going to take my bone folder, not the one you were just using with the matte medium, because it's going to be gommed up, and I'm going to fold these edges, and I'm going to scrape. And I'm going to come back up here, I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to score across here. And you want to make sure you turn this paper inside out and do it again. If you crease it really, really good, these pages will fold together really nicely. One tip I'm going to give you about a bone folder, this is a cheap one. And you can see where it's leaving scratch marks all over my paper. Because I asked Tim Holtz, I said, why is it that the Ranger bone folder is $8 and I can go all day long and buy a $1 bone folder from just about any craft store? And he told me it's because the Ranger bone folders are made of real bone. And because of that, they don't leave marks and mars on your paper. And these cheap ones will, because they're made of plastic. So I'm going to invest in a Ranger expensive bone folder because I think it would be worth it. So there you go. That's what it is. That's the difference between a $7 bone folder and a $2 bone folder. Okay, so see how now my paper is laying really flat, and you can kind of see the dimensions of my book, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a little bit of an edge here. This is going to be my binding edge. Okay, so I want to make sure when I got to come back and cut, make sure that when you put your thing down on your mat to cut from the edge down, you're going to take the long edge of your paper so that it's lined back up with the 5 1/2, and you're going to cut the 1/2 inch from the long side. Does that make sense? But you're only going to cut it from where you creased it down. Okay, do you guys follow that? This is the only part you're going to cut off. And then I'm going to cut it across right here. And that piece is going away. Okay, did everybody follow that? Hi, Fairy. Now when you fold it up, you want to make sure you have your bound edge. So now you're going to take the edge that's cut, that's over here, you flip it over, you're going to fold your pocket up so that your binding edge is on the left. Wait, excuse me, no. The pocket's going to go under, your binding edge is on the left, you're going to fold this over, so now you have your binding edge and the pocket are on the same side, up. Okay, do you see that? You have the binding edge, there's your pocket, and it's going to open like this. On all of your pages, you're going to do 6 of these. I'm going to open it back up, and I'm going to move the scoreboard out of the way because we don't need it for now. And I just pulled out a Martha Stewart punch that I have. It's this one with the little doily edge. And I'm going to punch along this edge that's the pocket. And normally I would find my center point and cut, but this time it doesn't matter because the way the pocket's fold in half, it just isn't going to matter. And you guys know how to use a border punch, right? You just line it up and then continue on. You just make sure it's flush with the edge. And I'm going to have to stand up to do this because I got to make sure I get it lined up. I got to see. So you're going to make this 6 times. You're going to make this little pocket right here 6 times. The best part about these videos is you can go back and watch it again. Now, I punched all of my pockets with the same punch because I happen to like this punch. It looks like a doily, and it's one of my favorites. I know I have the tonic one that's like this too, and that one's great, but it only does 1 hole at a time, so I get a little frustrated with it sometimes. Okay. I'm going to put that punch away because I do not need it anymore. Get all these little pieces out of the way. It's confetti! Put all that in the trash. So now this is what we have. We have our pocket, and it's going to fold, excuse me, it's going to go this way. So once you punch it, make sure your binding edge is on this side. The pocket's in the back, fold it under, and then fold it back this way, and make sure it's good and tight. Now, if you wanted to, you could actually put a slit in this, right here, you could slit this right up the middle and then just glue it on both sides. I don't want to do that. I like to use the edge. It just, to me, it gives me a little more room in my pocket. Okay, so is everybody with me so far? Are we good? Yes, double punches you can punch through tinfoil or sandpaper. Okay, so now that that's done, like I said, you're going to do this 6 times. You need 6 of these. Once that's done, before I do anything else, I like to use my bind-it-all and go ahead and punch. See if I can get this thing to, hold on. If I put something else other than the black in the frame, I think it'll keep it from refocusing. That drives me nuts. I like to go ahead and punch all of my pages before I decorate them. 2 reasons. 1, I know I can punch all 6 of my pages at one time and all of my binding is going to be the same. The second reason is because I will not decorate into that area because I know where it is. Does that make sense? Because I hate it when I forget to leave room for binding. Also, Suzanne, did you see my note that yes, I am recording? So I'm going to get my bind it all out, and I'm going to show you how to do this. And I can sometimes be bind it all challenged. But what I'm going to do is this piece right here, push it down so that this is my guide. And I'm going to place my paper into there, into that, and I'm going to make sure this is on A for, I guess that's continue, or it's open. So I'm going to push that down, and I'm going to make sure all of my pages are flat down. Wait, first pull this page up. You don't want it punched by accident. Okay, so I'm going to put this in all the way to the edge. I'm trying to do this where you guys can see what I'm doing. And then I'm going to punch. Then I'm going to pull it out, flip it over, line it up with the edge, and punch. Did you guys see that? And this way, everything's going to line up. Everything's going to line up when I get ready to do. Okay? So did you guys see that? You're going to go all the way in to the end. All right. Now I'm going to pull my cutter out, and I'm going to cut all of my pages so that they go in my book. Now, if you bought the kit, you're using 8x8. I think I heard somebody say they're using 12x12. So, if you're using 12x12, your measurements are going to be a little bit different because this is going to be bigger. In fact, it's probably going to cover all of this right here. So be careful. You may want to play around with it. Then you're going to take, and I'm going to cut off the border because I don't like to see the border on everything. Okay? And I'm just going to line this up so that my border is on one of my grids. I know I have people who tell me, how do you use that craft knife in a grid? I've just gotten used to it. I don't know what to tell you. I've used one for years, and I get a better cut with this than I do a paper trimmer. So I'm used to it. And I'm just going to slice off that border all the way around. And I'm using a good sharp blade so I don't have to like push it down really heavy. So I'm going to trim that off on all 4 edges. And believe it or not, I don't know if you guys realize I'm about to say this, but I'm going to throw those in the trash. I never throw anything in the trash, but I came to the realization that these pieces are so small that you can't even really make a flag out of them. I tossed them in the trash. Okay, so you don't need them. Get rid of them. Now this is where it gets tricky because we have our pocket. Because we have our pocket here. Okay? And our paper is wider than our pocket. But if we cut it like this, we're going to cut this design off down here. And I want this design on my bottom pocket. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut it this way. Okay? There is absolutely zero paper waste in this, other than that little strip of paper right here that I'm throwing in the garbage. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to line it up with my grid, get my cutter going in the right direction here. And the first thing I'm going to do is line my January up with 0. And I'm going to cut it this way at 4 5/8. And 4 5/8 is, if you count the little lines on the ruler, and you've got 4, 5, so you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5/8. So it's the line before the 3/4 inch mark. Did everybody follow that? Make sure your ruler's straight. Now, I like to use one that's about 18 inches long so that I can get it straight with my paper. And I'm just going to cut straight down. Timmy ruler isn't long enough for this mat. I wish it was like 3 inches longer. Okay, so this is what you have now. You have a piece that has January, and it's 4 5/8 this way. So now we're going to turn this January, put this one to the side. You don't need it for right now. And this time across, you're going to cut it at 5 1/2 inches. There's a lot of measuring in this project. And for those of you who can eyeball it, because I eyeballed it the first time and then I had to go back and measure everything. Do not discard any of this because we're going to use it on our envelopes. This craft knife is a metallic one that I got from an art supply store, and they're usually in the drafting section of the craft store. Like where, like it's where the drafting material is. And they make them, oh, the craft knife, okay, the craft knife was a Walmart one. I thought you meant the ruler. I'm sorry. Ruler, knife, whatever. Yeah, this is the Walmart one. I'm not crazy about it because the blade sometimes will loosen. It loads from back here, and the blade will sometimes loosen and slide. So I keep, this one's made by Xyron, I think. Or no, this, yeah, is it made by Xyron or is it made by X-Acto? It's made by X-Acto. It is at Walmart. Oh, you don't have a Walmart there? X-Acto makes it. But I like the design because it's fat and it, you know, I get a good grip with it. Alright, so this is our top. Now we're going to do our bottom, and this time I want to preserve this, so I'm just going to flip it upside down on my mat, and I'm going to cut it at 5 1/2 inches. I did say 5 1/2, right? Yes, y'all get me all flustered. Okay, keep this because we might use it. This would fit in that envelope. Okay, so now this is what we have. We've got our January, and it's going to go right here. You see that? It's going to get glued down there. And the bottom half, where the design is, I'm going to put it down here. Okay, so that's what our page is going to look like. I'm going to go ahead and glue that down. And I'm just using ATG tape. You can use whatever you want. I don't want to use wet glue in here because I want it to I don't want it to buckle on me. And this is going to go just inside the pocket. Okay? Is everybody with us so far? And this way, you're not wasting paper because under this pocket, you're not going to see anything. So now I'm going to go ahead and run my ATG up this pocket and seal it down. Okay? So now this is what I've got. This would make a great project life because honestly, I think a photo a month is enough. A photo a day is a bit overwhelming for me. Okay, now I've already pre-cut out all of my stuff for January and February since those are the months I'm going to show you how to do. So it kind of helps to cut down on some time a little bit. I'm going to start out with my trim, and all of my pages had trim that ran across here. And I just picked the color based on the, what colors were popular in the patterns for the month. And I'm just going to run a little bit of glue right there. Okay, cut that off. I missed the little edge right there. Now when I put the glue down, I glued it towards the top so I could still tuck things under this piece of ribbon right here. Yep, I have my blues. I love my blues. Okay, on all of these calendars, if you got the kit, I've already done it to January and February for you guys, but I'm going to show you how. I've got my little cutter bee tweezers somewhere. Maybe I have, oh, they're right here. And these are the numbers from Maya Road, right here. Pick a day when you're not frustrated. And you're going to pick, I'm picking them up with my tweezers. You can use a craft knife, but don't use your fingers. So if you don't have these, they usually have these little yellow things on them. Mine have been, I've had these tweezers since 2000 something. So, oh, the stickers are from SRM, excuse me. I thought they were Maya Road, but they are from SRM. These tweezers usually have a little yellow rubber thing right here, but I like them because I can let go and they're still gripping my number. So I'm just going to take them and line them up here. Make sure you reference a calendar. Make sure you don't get off on the wrong month, doing the wrong thing. And if you start from the bottom, these stickers peel up really well, especially with these sharp tweezers. And then I just keep lining them up. Now, one of these months, you are going to have to do, you're going to run out of lines before you get to the 31st. Hold on and I'll find one in the book and show it to you. All I did was, and I'll tell you which months they are if you decide to use 2013 as your months. Let me show you one. March. You have to do it for March. So this is what I did. I just, instead of centering the number on the label, I just set it offset 24 and 31 like that. Okay? I love this paper. It's so beautiful. You have to do it for March and June. March and June are the 2 months that you have to do it. The other option would be save these calendars for another project somewhere and get calendars that are pre-printed. And then you don't have to put these stickers on there. Okay, so then we're going to come back and on this I took, on all of mine, I have the big picture that I've tucked in right in here. And some months you have to play with it because they run into the month up here. So some months I had to go a little deeper in the pocket with it. Don't glue it in upside down. There you go. So I'm going to just put a little bit of glue right here. Now you want to leave the top part of the pocket kind of flat. You don't want a lot of dimension here, so don't use pop dots. Don't get tempted to use pop dots because things still have to go inside of these pockets. So here's January. I have this little postage stamp that I cut out of the paper that I put up here. And then my date is going to go right here. Make sure you stay clear of this binding, which is why we bound it first. And on this one, I wanted to tuck this little guy in like that. And I lay everything out before I start gluing things down. Now down here, I decided to use a little pop dot on him. I wanted him to stick up a little higher than everything else. Just like that. And then what else did I use? I used this says Happy New Year, so I cut that off. And on this one I made, it's hard to do this upside down, hold on. I had this tuck under here and I did a little flag here by just snipping in the center and trimming into like that. Okay, so now I'm going to just take this and make sure I glue everything down. When I glue, I only glue to the center. I don't glue all the way around the edge because I want to be able to do my layering and tucking without the glue getting in the way. So that's going to go there. Little glue here, just like that. This one needs a little bit of ribbon, and all I'm using is some twine. Now remember the trick I taught you guys a couple of weeks ago, and that is if you do tie a bow with some ribbon, you want to make sure that you put just a little spot of glue in the center of the knot, and that keeps the knot from coming untied. I'm not going to do it now because I don't want it to be wet, but you want to do it. What I would suggest if I was going to put this together is I would go back through all my tags that I'm going to use for each page, and I would go ahead and tie the little bows on them and put the glue in the center. And then when I get ready to put my book together, everything's ready and I don't have to fuss with it. So this guy's going to get tucked in, but it's going to go over this bottom flag under this calendar. Like that. And it leaves you plenty of room to take a little note right there. Just like that. And then we have our little pop dot guy. Who's going to go right in there. Okay, so are we clear on how to decorate all the pages? Okay, so we are at time for this class, so I'm going to go ahead and do the envelope for this one, and I'm not going to do February's because all of these are done exactly the same way. Every single one of these are done the same way. So this is the envelope die. If you don't have the Tim Holtz envelope, then you know what? Get some policy envelopes or some little envelopes from someplace. Take them apart, open them up. If you steam them with an iron, you can open them straight up, use it as a template, and cut one out. I think this day and age, everybody has some kind of envelope in their stash, or I think the $21.99 for this envelope is a steal, and you should buy it because I've used this envelope so many times. If you put this together with your ATG tape, then you can rub this tape off where it doesn't, it's not under. You can rub that tape off like that. And that way it's not going to be a catch-all for everything. And then this side's going to fold up. And it's going to fold over like this. Now those two pieces I told you not to throw away, there's a reason for it, because we're going to take these and fold them. There's a swirl on the back. We're going to take them and fold them in half. And this is going to make my envelope a little bit larger, because if I use the bind it all in here, then I'm losing about that much real estate inside my envelope. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this for the bind it all. So I'm going to put some glue at the base of my envelope and on both sides. And then I am going to leave about a ½ inch hanging off the edge of that envelope on both sides. So this is what it looks like. Okay, so my envelope ends right there. Okay, you guys see that? And I'm going to press it really hard. And then I'm going to just trim this off the edge of the envelope. Be sure not to cut open the envelope. So that's what I have. Then each one of these months has one of these dates. And all you're going to do is on January and December, figure out which way you want your envelope to go. I want my names to face, okay, my binding's going to be here, and I want my names to face towards the opening of the envelope. So here's January, and I'm going to just use it like a belly band. I'm going to center the word January and put a little ATG tape right here. And that's going to clean that edge up where those two meet. So on all of these months, you're going to do this. Now, on January and December, I just folded it over and then covered the back with something. But on the other months, you can do this side next and then cut it off. Or if you decide to do a month, an envelope for each month, you could do that. Whatever you want to do. I just decided to use it, like a belly band for January. I just put 2 months in one envelope because I don't want my book so thick it won't close. And by the time you start adding more pictures and things like that, it's going to get really bulky. And then this little guy is going to go right over this to hide where that gap is. And all of my envelopes, I'm going to use Velcro to close them down because I didn't want to have that little brad with the twine, because I wanted to be able to decorate these sides of the envelope. The scraps that you have left over from this paper kit, keep them, because when you do your page inside, you can always put when you do your page inside, you can use these to decorate those pages. So on this strip, I'm going to use New Beginnings, and I'm going to use the Warmest Wishes, and I got to turn it towards me so I know what I'm doing here. Okay, I'm going to cut a little flag right here. And Warmest Wishes is going to go towards the bottom here, and I'm going to tuck it under that picture. Well, it's going to be stubborn because it's got tape on it. And New Beginnings, I believe I'm going to do the same thing. It's going to go from this side, or this is Year in a Review. It's a good thing, like January, the good thing about this book is you could write out a set of goals for in January and then decide, you know, and when you get to December, you can look at those goals from January because it'll be trapped here and, you know, see if you've met your goals for the year. Okay, and we're going to decorate this side. And this side has the cute little girl. She's right here. I never put anything on straight. This is going to have a little bit of this twine in here. But this time, instead of tying it in a bow, I did one of those slip loops where you fold the loop, you fold it in half, and then you tuck the loop inside the tag. Just like that. And tighten it down. And then you wouldn't have to use glue on that, but then I just trim these little pieces off like that. So that's a cute way to have these tags without the extra bulk. And I don't want to cover up the little girl's kitty cat, so let's see. Just like that. And then New Beginnings goes right there. Oh, I think New Beginnings was supposed to be here in Year in a Review. So, Year in Review goes here because it talks about resolutions here. Just stick that right there. And then New Beginnings. There we go. So there's our envelope. And we need to use or bind it all. And we're just going to slip it in so that it's evened up with the holes and punch. And then there we go. There's our envelopes punched. Oh, I'm so glad you like it. Okay, so these extra pieces that you have over from each month, all I did was I put them inside of a baggie like this and trap them here so that I can do, when I do my pages for each month, I can use these to I can use these as filler for those pages. Now let's do our binder real quick and then we'll be done. So we're almost done here. We're going to pull out the binder, and you want the page that has, hold on, it's not quite dry yet. If you're going to heat the matte medium, you do not want to stay in one place. It will bubble, and you don't want it to bubble. Something all over this and I don't want it on there. Okay, so this is what we have. Our back page, we need to add our pocket, and all I did for the pocket was, you can use some leftover lace at the top if you want to, or you can punch it, either way. But before we put our pocket down, let's talk about our binding for our covers. If you cut your covers to 6.5 by 7 3/4, then all you have to do is punch the holes for your binder because you will have this edge. But when you put your pocket down, you want to make sure that the one that goes to the front is offset to the left so that the binding goes here. And the one on the back, the offsetting is going to go this way because your binder is going to go here. Does that make sense? Okay. Or you could center the pocket, and who cares if you punch through it. If you cut your pages to 6 inches by 7 3/4, then you're going to need to cut a sheet of paper. And what I did was, where did it go? I cut it to 3 inches, folded it in half. I don't have it anymore. Okay, I cut it to 3 inches, folded it in half, and then the piece where the piece that is in half is, I actually put that into my bind-it-all to bind it, and then I came back and trimmed where that 3 inches was hanging off this way. I trimmed off to where from the binding edge to the end is 3/4 of an inch. So this ends up being 7 3/4 by 3/4 of an inch. But the reason I didn't trim it to 3/4 of an inch is because when I stick it in the bind-it-all, I got nothing to grab. So I made it longer and then trimmed it down. Does that make sense with everybody? Didn't follow that at all. Okay, this is what I did. I took a piece of cardstock that was 3 inches. If you cut your chipboard so that you only had to use one sheet of chipboard, and you cut it to 6 inches by 7 3/4 inches, then you are going to need one of these to make your binding. Otherwise, your cover is going to be bigger than, your cover is going to be smaller than your book. So what I did was I cut a sheet of paper or a sheet of cardstock to 3 inches, folded it in half, put the folded edge down inside the bind-it-all, and punched it. Flipped it over, put it down, and punched it. Then the side that's open, I cut it so that from the fold out is 3/4 of an inch. Do you understand now? This paper, when I opened it up, was 3 inches wide at one time. I folded it in half, stuck the folded end down inside the bind-it-all, punched it, flipped it over, punched it. Then I took it out, folded from the folded edge this way. It's 3/4 of an inch now. I trimmed the excess off. Okay, good. We're all on the same page. Now what we need to do is attach it to our covers. And I attached it to my cover prior to putting the pocket on. Okay? Now you want to use a really good strong glue here, and I do not recommend hot glue. Do not use hot glue. I recommend something that is going to be permanent, like an E6000 glue, some Fabri-Tac. I'm going to use Fabri-Tac. Okay? The reason you don't want to use hot glue is because hot glue is not a permanent bond on matte medium. It is, it will hold, but it won't stick for life. And because this is a binding, I want it to stick for life. And whenever I put my glue on, I'm going up the crease of my cardstock and inside each of these valleys on either side in the center. So I think can you guys see the glue? See how I did the glue? And it's going to seep out, but this glue is so clear that it won't matter. Now when I put it down, I'm going to put it so that it lines up on the edges, but it's just before the punch. Okay? Then I'm going to fold it over. Just like that. And don't worry if it oozes out. You can take a baby wipe and wipe it up while it's still wet. Okay. And the beauty of using matte medium on your board is that now you have a surface that can be cleaned with a baby wipe. So clean that excess glue up with that baby wipe. Now, once this is dry completely, you want it to be completely dry. I would even let it sit overnight. Yes, nice clean cut. Then I'm going to take my pocket, and you can use whichever pattern you want. I like this one. And just glue it down so that it's glued down over the top of that binding. Okay? And if you wanted to, you could even cover this with paper and do the whole thing on both sides and then use pocket. I'm going to use this Fabri-Tac again to make my pocket. Okay, and now you need to do that on the other piece as well. So this time, don't forget, if this is your cover, clean that up. I got glue everywhere. That's one of the hazards of wet glue, but just keep it clean. Okay, now don't forget on this one, the binding is going to go to this side. It doesn't matter. If it doesn't matter with your pattern, then it doesn't matter to me because you can just flip it upside down. But I like to make sure that I'm going in the right direction. So it's going to go, the binding is going to go to this side if I flip it upside down. Does that make sense to everybody? Well, that's why I'm getting glue everywhere. I got glue on my mat. Okay, so where'd my other... We're almost to the end. It's not going to take any time to cover this. So I'm going to just put glue right in the center, up the sides, right down the edge. Notice where my holes are, and I'm going to put this down so that my holes, my board goes right up to my holes. And then I'm going to fold it over and cinch it down. And I'm going to put my pocket on. And the pocket is cut at 4 inches by 5 3/4 inches. You could put matte medium on it, but it doesn't need it. It'll hold it because it's doubled cardstock. And it's just as strong as your interior pages. And it's doubled, so it's a little thicker. You have to make 10 of these books, Christine? Who are you making these books for? You must love them because there's a lot of cutting in this book. Yeah, it's double cardstock with glue. It's going to be pretty sturdy, guys. And if you're concerned about it, you can always cut the chipboard 6 1/2 and you don't have to worry about doing that process. I just like to conserve my chipboard. There's no reason to have all that extra wasted chipboard laying around. Okay, so there's that. And now let's decorate our cover and we'll be done. So on mine, what I did was, you have these sticker sheets, and I used the sticker sheet on just about every single page. But this little guy right here is on the sticker sheet. It's a nice border. And what I did was, I lined my pocket with it here at the top. You could use lace if you want to, But I wanted it to kind of sit a little flat because there's going to be so much bulk in this book that I just wanted it to stay neat. And then I used the other one on the other pocket. I like symmetry too. There we go. I also used these stickers on some of my pages, interior pages, and I used some on my envelopes. Okay, so this is my cover. I always like to double check, triple check. This is how my book's going to go together, and this is my cover. Then I'm going to take my lace. I had a piece that was already cut. I'm going to use it first. I'm going to take my lace and I'm going to cover up the spine so you don't even notice it. Now, because I want this to dry fast for the purposes of this, I'm not going to use the Fabri-Tac on this. I'm just going to go ahead and use hot glue. And I'm going to I put 3 layers of this glue here, so I'm going to come out quite a bit farther than the spine. And I'm going to lay my first layer down. I love the look of layered lace. Don't worry about that. I'll trim that off later. And then I'm going to come back with the next one and lay my next layer down. And then I'm going to come back with my third layer. And whenever I lay my lace down, I'm kind of offsetting it a little bit between the gap of the one in front of it. And then I'm just going to trim all these laces down. So this is what I have. And see, you don't even notice this spine. Isn't this lace gorgeous? It's Prima. The Prima. It's gorgeous, gorgeous. Okay, then I'm going to take, if you bought the kit, you got one of these. This is a Prima vine. It's the Breton Vines Purity. And on this one, I wanted to see this because I like it. So all I did was cut it or twist it into an L shape, but I did twist this vine up just a little bit more. And I glued it down just like this, right over the lace. I pulled and tucked at some of these a little bit to kind of get them to fan out a little more because they're smushed up in that packaging. Free the flowers. Kind of give them a little fluff. Twist them around so that the stems aren't showing on the back of the leaves. And then I just laid them down. Now, this has some glitter on it, guys. So for all you who don't like glitter, myself, you know, beware. It does have glitter on it. And I'm going to put glue liberally on this. I'm probably going to go back after the show and add some glossy accents behind some of these leaves and behind some of these flowers just so that I know this is stuck for life. And it's going to go right here. My son just got home from his basketball game, so you may hear him coming in. Ooh, coupon code! Merry Christmas from Flamingo Scraps. Okay, the next thing, we're almost done. Now I'm going to look at these stickers. And on the stickers, I used a place and time. These stickers are die cut so that they are 2 pieces. I try to keep it together if you can, so that it ends up not being messed up. And then I just place this about right here on mine, because to me, I feel like this is going to be a place and time for me, so I just wanted to use it. I liked it. Then I cut the 2013 out with the cargo stickers, but I've lost my, the cargo die, but I've lost my cargo die in this room somewhere. So tonight I'm just going to use these graphic 45 ones. They did not come in the kit, but I figure use chipboard letters, use whatever you got. Everybody's got numbers or letters of some kind and some kind of die cutting system, right? And I've had these for quite a while, so it's good to use them up. So it says 2013 there. Okay, and then the next thing I did was I went back to some of these stickers and I pulled them off and used them on the cover. It's like this lady. I really like her. She was gorgeous and I wanted her on my cover. She made the cover. She's my cover girl. And I'm going to tuck her in kind of right here. I pulled this flower too far over. I'm going to tuck her in, just kind of nestle her in right in here. Oops. Then you also got in your kit a wooden clock, which for some reason I do not have sitting here. I have it right here. And you're going to nestle that little guy. Actually, put my rose down in the wrong spot. I'm going to nestle the clock right in here. Make sure it's at 12 o'clock. It's showing up. Then I took the clocks that are also on here. I took this sunflower one and I'm going to nestle it down in the vine, and this just kind of adds some layering here and there throughout this vine. And then I grabbed the flower ones because I thought I liked them better than trying to use the pumpkin one. I think I used in October somewhere. This one I'm going to put here. That's the one with the purple flower on it. And then I have one that has the cherry blossoms, and I used it down here. And then there's our cover. How gorgeous is that? So now all we have to do is bind it with the Bind It All. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that really fast, and then we're done. So I'm going to get all my pages together, and I have already put them together here. And I'm going to get them all in order. So So I have January, or this is my cover. Here's my other cover. I have, make sure you get them going in the right direction. Where did my rings go? So you have your rings. I'm using 1 1/4 inch rings, and if you have the bind it all, you can use the cinch rings. And it looks like I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 holes on each side. So I'm going to just take my wire cutters and cut off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right here. I cut it right there. And then I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cut that one there. Okay, so your bind it all is going to have these little, or these rings are going to have the pokey side, and then this sides are closed off. So what you want to do is you want to put your cover this is the back cover. Your cover is going to go on like this. Are you following me? Did you see what I did? And flip it around. You're going to grab your January, put it here. I have 2 of those. Okay. Get everything in order before you go putting it together, because Goofy Tanya, I always get them out of order. So we're going to go put your book completely in order first. So you got January, then I'm going to go to February and March. Here's March. I need the February. There's the March side. There's March. Here's April and May, June, July, August, and there's September, October, November, and then December, and then my back cover. Okay, so everything's in order, right? I'm gonna put this is gonna go upside down and to the back, and then I'm gonna start putting my things on my rings. So I'm holding the bound edge right here in my hand. And I'm going to go January, this is like the part that I have to stop and think. I'm so challenged when it comes to this kind of stuff. Make sure everything's going in the right direction and nothing's upside down. Then you're going to do this side. And this side should come together pretty quick because you have everything in order. And you don't have to worry about any of those envelopes. Okay, so everything's in there. You want to make sure your book is in the center of the rings, okay? If it's not, your rings won't be circular when you bind them. Then you're going to take your bind it all and you're going to find however big the rings are. Mine are 1 1/4 inch, so I'm going to line this up with the 1 1/4 inch line. And they have these little cards you can slip in there to make sure they're the right ones. You want to hold your book up so that it goes down in here, and you keep your book in the center of the rings, and then you're going to press. And those, I didn't press hard enough. Hold on. Okay, then you're going to do the same thing over here, and I just flip it around. Make sure your book's in the center of the rings, and your book is bound. And my book fell apart. I don't have it cinched down all the way. Hold on, I gotta tighten it down just a little bit more. It's hard to do this whenever I'm doing this on camera because it's hard for me to see what I'm doing. Okay, so this is gonna go in here. Okay, should be good now. Now, one other thing I like to do is these little ends, I don't like them to catch on anything. So either trim them back tight or just take them a piece of wire cutter and just kind of, like I've taken a needle nose pliers and just twist it so that it's not going to be poking out. And then when you flip your book around, your binder, why is this thing not wanting to stay? There we go. Now you got your book. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? What are y'all yelling at me for? Oh, did I put October in upside down?